Hello, and welcome to the Business Behind Small Business, the show that reminds you that just because you own a business doesn't mean you're a business owner. In each episode, we will discuss a common issue small businesses face and offer tips and advice from the perspectives of two business owners, one that built to sell and one that built to inherit. We are your hosts, Sevana Stone and Chloe Lee. There's a lot of business behind small business, so let's get to it. When we start a company, often or maybe not often enough, we think of the end game, how long we want to do this, how we envision the growth, if we want to go to the grave clutching to the procedures manual. And if you haven't thought of it yet, you should. Are you building to sell or inherit? We've done both, and we hope to share our perspectives to help you choose.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome very much.
All right. So I'm coming from the perspective of building to sell, right? So I think one of the things you had said that when you met me, you were just like, I guess in a sense, not wild, but I guess just was really, what's the right word am I looking for here?
Well, I was kind of blown away with the fact that you already knew that you wanted to sell, but it was funny because my thought was, how can she know she wants to sell? I know that I want to keep my money in a legacy. So it's just funny looking back that I thought it was crazy that you already knew what you wanted when, in fact, I already did too. So.
I think, and that's the one thing I have to say is, again, not knowing what you don't know and starting, that's one of the lucky things I picked up, which is having the end in mind when you're starting. Because it really helps give you a true north in a sense, especially when you have a business and you have 10 million options and 10 million ways you can drive the business and what you want to do. Having an end goal in mind just kind of helps things along as you're making decisions to make sure they all point in the same direction. But I think I knew what I wanted. I probably didn't know how to do it at that time. I figured if I said it enough times and I put it out in the universe, it'll happen. So wanting to sell kind of popped in my head really was when I was at a networking event where all great things happen.
Those are the greatest things ever created to man please more.
I think it's kind of a rite of passage for any small business owners to go to networking event one after the other. The how many happy hours you go to for all these networking events.
There should be a drinking game for networking events.
Exactly. Yeah, I just think that is just something that any founder of a business that created this brilliant idea that nobody has heard of gets the experience of going to different networking events and telling it to strangers over and over again, right, to see what sticks. But I will tell you though, one thing, just kind of going back to when you were saying that you were blown away when you heard what I was doing, I have to say that's probably the moment where I knew that that moment I was like, oh, I like her, because for some reason, it's a little taboo, I think, in a sense, to say that you want to sell your business, right? I feel like a lot of small business owners hear that and they feel like you're kind of selling out, because it is a lot to get a business off the ground. For sure, I will not. I completely agree with that, but I do feel like a lot of. I think I felt like I kind of offended a few people when I had said that, and when I had said that to you, you were not offended, and I was like, oh. Thank you for respecting my idea. But honestly, so the idea came to me because I was at a networking event, and I don't recall. I just know that I had driven really far for this networking event. It was in a hotel in a conference room, and I was like, "Why am I here? Like, it's late. I'm tired."
I remember that. That event.
So I'm like, oh heavens, this is such a mistake. But, somebody had invited me and, I made a commitment. So I was there. And the great part is in the event, in the middle of the event, they had a speaker. And I think that event was actually sponsored by this company or hosted by this company. I think it was like a coaching company or something. So the founder of that company was coming to speak. Well, I didn't really know. I was actually just there to network and just to be there. But the guy came up to speak, and he was like, he was so charismatic. He had such a swagger about him, I guess you could say. He was like upbeat, he was offbeat, he was funny, he was engaging. I mean, it's a room of 50, so it wasn't really big. But you can tell that he was really having a lot of fun, and he was just so relaxed. And he started going over things, teaching us about his own experience. And, through that, he mentioned that he was a serial entrepreneur. So he's owned restaurants, had real estate holdings, had a few business. And for some reason, it just like clicked for me at that moment. I think it's because like he was so real and only a few feet away from me that I'm like, oh, look, real life human. That's what I want to do in life. Maybe this can happen, right? And so, so from that moment on, I thought about it, and, I could just feel like deep within me, like, this is right. Feels right. Like, this is what I want to, I want to create businesses, and I want to sell them, and I want to do it over and over again, and not always necessarily sell within a couple of years, but I just wanted to create a viable business where I can go off and be a serial entrepreneur myself. So that's kind of where the idea hatched.
Yeah, and what made you? How can I phrase this? How did you know what, why, who, what,
where, when?
How did you know what length of time you were going to need? Like, how did you know you should sell when you did? How did you know that you were, you had baked the cake long enough, if you will? Like, what made you choose to sell when you did?
So I knew, because I knew early on I wanted to sell, I kind of built my business with the idea of, okay, if I was a buyer, what kind of business would I want to buy? Like, who are my buyers, right? So I kind of looked around and kind of made a list of characteristics I felt like my buyers would have that would make them interested into my business. And so that's kind of how I shaped my business, so that would be attractive to these buyers. So it took me a few years. There were definitely big changes I did have to make and do, and it took a little time to build it up. And it took a little bit of an investment, which was scary and exciting all at once, because I knew I was building something good, but at the same time, it's still all really new to me. It was my first time doing it, so I had no idea if this was going to work out. It could be a spectacular fail for all I know, and I could be completely crazy. But I got over a hump a certain point, and I knew that if I kept going down this path, I should be ready to sell in a couple of years. Except that for me, it actually happened a little bit earlier than I had anticipated, because I had met my buyer coincidentally just much earlier on I didn't even put my business on the market yet. I was kind of getting ready to put the business on the market at the close of the year. And so this buyer had come along, and I knew it was ready, because I was ready. I was ready for the experience of having sold a company.
And what tools would you say? I mean, not that we're going to spend this episode in giving every answer, right? But is there a tool that you utilized in building the path towards a sale that you would say was immeasurable for you? Or was there something that you'd say was immeasurable for the success of your sale?
Yes, so I would say, this is going to sound so cliche, but process. It is the world's most boring ingredient. And I'm telling you,
it's the salt.
I have deep within me this creative soul within me. So when you tell me I have to be disciplined to follow a process, I'm like, oh, right. But honestly, that's the tool. That is the number one tool. It's always like, the most valuable thing, which is also the easiest thing, is also the hardest thing to do, right?
Yeah.
But no, it's process. It was, just sat myself down and was like, I need to build a process around everything I do, and in a way so that this business is not reliant on me and sellable, so that somebody who comes along doesn't feel like they have to buy me and the business, and that the business wouldn't survive without me. And so to do that, you have to have a business that is, just kind of can stand up on its own without your influence. And to do that, you have to have process, and then you have to learn how to hire people and teach them the process, and have a way so that they can replicate and do things in a way that would be the same if you were doing it yourself. And to do that, it's process. It's as boring as documentation, lots of documentation, and a lot of process design. Yeah.
No, it's true. Processes are so important. And I joke about it, but I'm not really joking about it when I say that I'll have my 9-year-old look at my processes, and if it doesn't make sense to him, then it's back to the drawing board for me, because I want my processes to be understandable by an elementary school student. Because if I can make I not to impede on your story, but for me,
please.
My process, or my back of mind, has always been and will always be, what would McDonald's do? Like, what?
Oh my gosh, I was thinking that exact same thing. I was like, yes, what you need to do is the McDonald's way, like the McDonald's University, essentially. And that's the thing, is I think and again, we probably shouldn't go too far down this tool, because I'm sure this in itself can be an episode too of how to. But honestly, I don't think there's enough credit given to kind of the science and the art form of being able to document a process in a very simple way that, like you said, even a 9-year-old, maybe like a 20-year-old, like you took your 9-year-old to work early, right? But I think the idea is the same.
Well, not that you want your 9-year-old to run your company. However, you want them to be able to maybe explain it to the 30-year-old if necessary.
Well, but yes, the idea is the fact that you want to document it in a way that, again, the idea is, I know people like to use the phrase "get hit by a bus." I like to say, win a lottery and run off to an island. You want to, have it stand alone in a way that without you chirping next to the person reading it or showing them examples, they can take whatever documentation you have with it and, probably do the same thing you would do in your seat, probably 90% of the way there, right? And that's and it's not always that straightforward. It takes a lot of thought to get that built up. So.
Well, and you're right. We could definitely go down this rabbit hole, but we do have an episode based on processes. And in that, we can go deeper in length, longer in length, and just deeper dive into what processes are, how to write them, what to do with them, kind of IKEAify your company. So, step one, IKEA made everybody think they're a furniture maker. And I'm not a furniture maker, and yet somehow I can magically put together a whole bedroom set and feel so accomplished. But, I can do it, but
we can talk
I'm
about
not a furniture maker.
Talk about that later too, because I personally am so dumb that the IKEA instructions make no sense to me. I'm looking at those pictures, and I'm sure I'm looking at it upside down halfway. Like, it's just, I'm like, okay.
So
throw it together.
So did you feel, okay, so that definitely processes, right? And I'm sure there are lots of apps and platforms and different things that you used along the way, but was there an alliance that you had with any person or industry? Maybe not industry, but was there an alliance that you had with anyone that you feel helped you in the process of prepping for sale?
So I was super stubborn. The first few years, I had this chip on my shoulder that I had to do it all myself, or it's not my victory. right? And again, a whole other episode about a founder of a business and their ego.
Yeah.
So it took me a long time to open up and ask for help. And it's funny because I think as soon as I did, things tend to have accelerated faster. But I have to say, I did it so late into the game. So I think at that point, I was probably in year 7 of the business before I finally was like, you know what, I need, I want to accept help, right? I want to ask. I want to see how other people do it. I want to ask. I want to learn. I want to, be open to that. But I was year 7 into it. So I think luckily along the way at that point with a lot of battle scars afterwards, I was pretty steady in my thinking and my attitude for the day to day that I didn't. If I end up with a mentor, great. But if I didn't, I guess I was sturdy enough or steady enough in my own stance that I could keep going forward without it, right? So, unfortunately, I don't think I ever had that one person that I solely relied on or was able to go back to over and over again. Now, I had a lot of peers like yourself, right? Like people I would call just that I felt like was no judgment, that, had their own business and kind of knew intuitively a lot of the problems and challenges I was running into or just having a bad day. Or just having a really crappy
Many a drink was drank for that.
Exactly. And then I also had those friends who could throw back a shot of whiskey if needed. That was very well appreciated. But I have to say, I don't know if I do now though, but I don't think I need it as much now. But I certainly welcome it. I didn't have a role model which really understood the serial entrepreneur kind of like mindset, right? It's a little more common for business owners who have, again, built their business after so much work to really want to keep and let that be the kind of their key business for quite a few years. I just didn't get a chance to run into that many people who, kind of did it over and over again with different industries or whatnot. So, it would be great. So I certainly still invite that. But like I said, it's I have a lot more confidence in my dream now that I don't feel like I need it, but I definitely wouldn't mind it.
And you knew, so you had mentioned earlier about how you knew it was the right time, and you knew that this was the one, but could you say that you could pinpoint how any business owner would know that it's time to sell? Or is it that after you finish writing all the processes? Or is there some other way to know when it's time to sell?
I think a lot of it just so I work a lot on intuition and instinct. And so for me, it was more of having that gut instinct and feeling when a deal was proposed, or whether or not this is the right deal and this is the right time, and this is what it was meant to happen. So my approach with it probably is a little bit less scientific. But of course, there's some numbers driven behind it too. I knew my business was kind of viable, in a good position. We were in the black. We had good margins. It was sellable, and it was sellable at a decent price, right? A respectable price. I guess that's the better way of putting it. Respectable price. So I think it is kind of your way of feeling about it. I think, of course, the number one thing is, again, the business needs to be able to stand alone without you as the founder and the owner. So I think a lot of times, I did the same thing, and it took me a little time to kind of turn it around. Is you start out in a business and you are the business and the business is you. And especially if you're in a service-based business, like I was, when people buy the service, they're really buying you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They're buying the experience of being with you or being around you or whatever it is. Yeah.
And nobody's ever going to out-deliver the founder of a business. Let's just be honest, right? Nobody's ever going to work quite the same way as the person who started the business, whose name is behind a brand and whatnot. And so I would say that the point where you can consider selling really has to come after, where your business can stand up without you there day to day, without you in there for major decisions, without you, holding it up. And, you have customers who may have met you in the beginning, maybe know of you even better, but their sole interaction with the business is now they understand they're buying the brand of the business and the value that you've instilled in the business. They know that you are not the one who's going to pick up the phone when you call the company. And I think at that point, that's a good point to, start considering if you want to sell.
And in saying that, was there ever a time that you considered keeping the company, or if you are involved, what makes you choose to continue being involved, or would someone who sells their business, would it be a good advice to continue being involved if the opportunity presents itself?
So, that's kind of that is a personal choice. There is a lot of different ways you can do it. So me personally, I knew pretty early on, because I wanted to sell, it was never an option for me. I never wanted to keep this business in the long term. It was tempting at times, especially when things, are going really good. Right? It gets really comfortable, and I'm like, oh man, do I really want to sell this and start all over again? Like, I don't really have to. I could do this for a while.
Here.
Exactly. Get real comfortable. Dig right in. No, but because my ultimate dream and what I want to accomplish does involve, for me, I felt like I needed to learn what it was like to sell a business. I needed that experience and to live through it. That for me, it was never an option. Would I choose continuing to be involved in this particular business? No. So I always said that this first business of mine is a trainer business, is to train me to be an entrepreneur, is to train me to be a business owner and to be a creator. So depending on the options, I would choose not to stay. And also now going through an actual acquisition, I think my choice is still pretty much the same. But I've heard stories of other business owners who sold their business, and they do it in varying capacities, right? Some people would sell their business, but it's because for them, they kind of want the corporate administration of the business to be handled by somebody else, whereas they can maybe stay on and still be the head of sales, or they can stay on and still be like the main head of like the creating like some product that's already in the business, and they can focus on a smaller part of the business and then have kind of the corporate and executive administrative, areas kind of taken care of, right? So it's to each their own and whatever makes them happy. But my personal choice is certainly the second and third time I do this is I would sell and I would not stay behind.
Yeah. And you're right. It's more of a personality thing too. I think that some people can sell it and say sayonara, off you go, and and some people are like, I think I kind of want to continue having some role in this. So I think you're right.
Letting it go.
Yeah, I wouldn't know how. I'm an only child. I don't share well. I don't share well. I don't let go well. It is not. That's why I knew that an inheritable business was really my only option, because I could never like break up with my company and see my company with somebody else and be like, well, how's your life? like an ex-boyfriend. Doing okay? Are you happy? Is she being good to you? Couldn't do it. Nope. Sorry, gotta put a ring on it.
You knew, like similar to me. You knew from day one you were gonna build inherit, right? Like that was that was no brainer for you, right? Do you have you looked kind of in your crystal ball into the future to see when you think you'll be ready to kind of bequeath what you have, or is it?
It'll be going to the grave. I'll be the one clutching to the procedures manual. Yeah. So prior to this company, I had two other businesses, both of which I worked by myself. The one, I just kind of let it go. I didn't sell it. I just kind of let it go. I didn't feel like it was growing me as a person. Um, I wasn't feeling fulfilled in it. The second one was, I was having so much fun. So the second one, I don't even like talking about the first one because I feel like it was so dumb. But the second one, and I feel like the first one was really me kind of dipping my toes in and trying to figure out like who I wanted to be. And I was really young at the time, so I also think I did it because I thought that was what I was supposed to be doing, but I just picked the wrong guy behind door number two, if you will. Like it wasn't the right thing that I should have been doing. But the second one, I was doing promotions and bookings at that time rather. In the late 90s, early 2000s, Detroit was not doing so great. And that's where I was living at the time. Mm-hmm. And Detroit was not doing so great. Nobody wanted to be in the city. The mayor wasn't making it any easier for businesses to open in the city. And it was right around the time when Super Bowl happened and everyone wanted to open a business and bank on what was going to happen with Super Bowl, right? But like literally the next week. I think Super Bowl was like on February 8th, say February 9th, everybody shut down. And it was a ghost town. It was awful, absolutely awful. They spent all this money and basically bankrupted the city again. So because I was so well connected to all kinds of restaurants and bars, and martini lounges were a really big thing at that time, clubs and people in the fashion industry and whatnot. I was really well connected to people there. So I started hosting events for restaurants and bars and lounges and whatnot, and just to get people to come into the city, but not on Fridays and Saturday nights when it was not a problem to get people to come in. It was on Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night. Like, who is going to come into the city on those nights, right? I was doing really well, and I met this guy and his partner who were also They were event guys, and we partnered up. And we did really, really well together. I ended up moving to Virginia, and I ended up selling my portion. I thought about running it from here, but I was like, I can't even do it. So I sold my business to him. So he took my business. Even though we had partnered up on things, we were still two independent companies, but I sold to him. I didn't sell for a whole lot. Honestly, I probably could have gotten a whole lot more for it, but I just felt like it was time for me. Mm-hmm. And I took a 2-year hiatus to try and figure out what I wanted to do next. And I, at that point, was like, I've done this twice. Once as just a person, like as a contractor, like it was just me, and I wasn't like selling it wasn't a sellable service, a marketable service that I had with my first business. My second business did fantastic, sold it. And I put a nice fine period at the end of that sentence with them. What did I want to be like for real, as a grown up? Like, what am I going to do as a grown up? You know, I cannot continue on this path because it didn't feel like a grown up thing. And I even remember frustrated on the phone with a friend of mine and saying, I just want a name tag that says my name and then says what I do underneath. And she's like, you could do that. And I said, yeah, but what is it that I do underneath? What is underneath my name? And that was when I realized that, well, I've done these 3 things. Why don't I combine them and turn them into a company? Mm-hmm. And that thought and the thought of hanging on to this and this being my baby, it growing with me and growing with my family and being the backdrop of my life, those thoughts converged. I knew that I wanted to build.
It took you to kind of find what you wanted to do?
Yes, 2 years. Yes, it took me 2 years. It took me 1 year, a year and a half. I took on jobs specifically with certain people that put me in a position of I mean, I'll say it. Like I wanted to work as an admin. I wanted to work as an assistant. I wanted to work as the lowest level bookkeeper as I could possibly work, to know what it felt like to work on the ground floor, so that I knew how it would feel if I were to speak to people. You know what I mean? Like, so that I, as a business owner, would know how to articulate myself to someone in that position. So I took on positions like that to know what I would want to hear. Because
So
that
you
was
knew at
important to
that
me.
point that you knew you wanted to be a business owner. So I guess it's more of what was that kind of
Mhm.
what the blank was?
Yeah.
Fill in the
Yeah.
blank.
I wanted to know I wanted to own a business. I knew I wanted to own a business. I didn't know what kind of business I wanted to own. I knew what I had been doing up to that point. I also took a lot of time to figure out this area, because where I am in the DC metro area, it is such a different language and such a different animal than Detroit. And in the Detroit area, I knew everybody, like I knew everyone. And here I am, like I know nobody. And it was kind of depressing, because I felt like I was the smallest fish in an ocean here.
Oh,
And
that's
I was
pretty
like, I don't
common.
know
That's
these.
easy to feel in this area too.
Oh, for real. Yes. And I knew that the service I was providing in Detroit was serving a really great need. There were businesses in the city of Detroit, and they needed people to come to them on off days, right? So, problem solver. What
Hmm.
was the problem here? And I started to the thing that I noticed immediately was that there was no drive-through McDonald's where I lived, and no drive-through Dunkin'. Girl, everything is drive-through in Detroit. Like, I'm like, what are you talking about? I gotta walk up to the dry cleaner? What is that? Like, what do you mean I have to get out of my car to get my alcohol? What is this ABC thing? And so it was bizarro to me, and I realized that meant that was because of how expensive real estate is here. And
Hmm.
then on my street, I realized, I was like, why is everybody home all the time that I'm home? Like, everybody's home. In Michigan, everybody's not home. Nobody works from home. Well, nobody worked from home in the early 2000s or mid 2000s. And come to find out that flexible working makes sense for the traffic patterns here. It's just something that
Oh,
people did here, right?
yeah.
And
So you
so
don't
I
want to
was like,
live
I
like
see.
3 hours being like road warrior each day
Yeah.
for your commute time here. So yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, huh. So more people work from home here than, and if they're working from home, who's in their quote unquote office? Do they even have an office? And so that was what made me kind of gel that idea together. And then I took another 6 months to come up with my process for creating this business, and the name, and what kind of name am I going to go by, and what am I going to do, and like all that kind of stuff. And I knew that in order for me to build an inheritable business, as you mentioned, those processes, I knew that those processes were going to have to start getting written almost immediately. But if you happen to listen to episode 1, you'll know that I got pregnant soon after starting my company. And so I was a little busy. I didn't start writing down the processes until 4 to 5 years later.
Hmm.
So I think normal people should not take that long. But for me, it just so happened that I had the circumstance of a toddler and then a teenager. I had a toddler and a teenager. I used to say that, like, I was between toddler and tiara. And then my poor,
I'm
and
sure
then there was
neither
my poor,
follows any process you laid down in their house.
yeah, no, yeah. And then my poor middle child was like, I'm over here. You can feed me anytime you're ready, whatever. Like, he likes to be. Um, but once I was out of the fog of babyness, I started writing down everything, which I think some people would ask, well, if it's an inherited business, why would you write everything down, right? Like, who knows? You could be in this
Exactly.
business for
Be like,
20,
what's the
30
point?
years, right?
If anything, just like
No.
secure your position in the business, right?
Right, right. Well, so these were the questions that I had to ask. I had to ask, what is my role in this company? That's not a question you have to answer if you're planning to sell, right? Because your role is the person to sell the company. But in an inherit, you're right. But in an inherited company, what is my role? Who do I want to be in this business? And I do not want to be all of the things. No business owner ever should be all of the things. Every business owner should be the business owner slash one or two things. All right. Because then
Well, I
your
think
business
because you
cannot.
quickly realize it is not sustainable for you to be all those things.
Absolutely not. And if your business is going to last for many years to come, you do need to pick something. You got to pick a lane and you got to stick with it. And those things that you are no longer going to be, hire the people for those things, or position the people that currently work for you for those things. Otherwise, it cannot be, because what do you want let's say it is one of my children. Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, do I want my child to inherit a mess that he or she cannot make heads or tails of? Or do I want them walking into a business that says, from this day forth, you will be the account manager of this company? It's clear. And it's also something that is easier to digest. And in the end, that's what you want, right? You want a business that is easy to digest, easy to understand.
Well, it's interesting too because I think some of the I guess focus that you had for a business to inherit, it's pretty much universal into any business you're building, right? Your motivation may be different, but at the end of the day, whether or not it is to sell or to inherit, the motivation is different, but the result, or I guess the action that you have to do, is still pretty much the same, which is, write that down, right? Write
Absolutely,
everything
yes. Everything's got to be written down. And as my company grows, we're at 15 now, but I would like to see us to be much more than that. And if we're going to be much more than that, things have to be written down and things have to go on. Like I have Google is so terrible, but also so amazing. It's like this amazing monster machine, right? And there's a lot of free Google business products that you can use to create things, write things down. I created a corporate website, free website using Google for everyone in my company that can just kind of cherry pick whatever. What are the privacy policy? What is our code of conduct? What is our policy on X, Y, and Z? So they can go in there and get the SOP at any given time. That's important. They should have, it shouldn't just be something that we give to them and then they forget about it. There should also be a second opportunity for them to get to that. However, if God forbid something were to, the whole hit by a bus thing, if God forbid something were to happen to me, is my family going to be like, oh, we don't know she never told us where it is. I want them to be able to even maybe reach out to one of the people that work for me and they'd be like, oh yeah, it's on the corporate website. Everything's there. So,
You'll be so proud too.
Yeah. Like everything should be there. I live my life by, if you give a mouse a cookie, I need to answer every possible avenue that mouse might take in order to get that cookie. So, and that's what you should be doing with your inherited business. You need to work on that right now. Because I've owned my business now for 10 years. I foresee myself owning it for another 20. I think I could do this for, well, maybe not, maybe another 10 years, really. Like, do I really want to be doing
we'll
this in
ask
my
you again
70s?
in 5
Maybe
years
not.
to see how you feel
Yeah,
about
right.
it.
So I tell you what, like realistically, I wouldn't mind doing this for another 10 years and start grooming someone to take over. Like that would be the most ideal. I could foresee myself being involved for 20 years. But I can't answer that question because I don't know. I think just like you, how will you know it's the right time? It's like
Yeah.
you kind of have to use your intuition as to when the right time is and who the right person is. Because as much as I would love one of my kids to inherit it, sorry, but you're going to have to be just as qualified as maybe someone that I interview, like someone else who has earned their stripes, if you will. And I need to
Right, and
know
you don't want
that
to
you're
impose that on them as well, right? To
no.
say, oh, well, I'm building this, and one of my kids is going to take it over. That's an immense amount of pressure
It is.
to
It
have.
is. And I also it's like a double-edged sword, right? Like it's an immense amount of pressure that I don't want any of my children to feel that they have to do, but I also don't want them to think that, oh, well, I'm just going to get the business. So, I'm just going to, flip off over here and I'm not going to bother going to school because I'm going to get the business. No, I don't think so, buddy. It's not going to work like that.
Do you think that ultimately, like, let's say the scenario goes is that, you don't bequeath it to anyone, right? You just, you just keep going with it because it's good, and you end up with a great management team or executive team that can still steer the ship, but you're still involved until as long as you want to be way past retirement age or whatnot. Do you see that happening as well, or do you think like or are you like right now already kind of putting up your antennas and kind of in a sense, kind of secretly eyeing people that you're coming across and kind of thinking, hey, is this kind of the person that I'm going to, that may take over? Are you kind of doing that in your head?
I am doing that because there are people that both work for me and or are people that are in the same industry as me who do what I do, that are not, working for me, that I would be very open to having that conversation with if none of my kids decide that this is their path, which I can honestly say my older two, this is not their jam at all. However, my 9-year-old is hilarious because he's always asking me questions. I had a conversation with him like a month or so ago about something that as we were talking, I'm like, he's talking about profit sharing. How the heck does he know about profit sharing? So if anyone shows promise, it's going to be him.
Hey, you never know.
But you never know. He may end up starting his own company and being like, "Sorry, Ma, you're an old lady, and I don't want what old ladies own." So I do know. I can say with complete conviction, though, that I do want to have a cutoff date. I do want to have a retirement age. I think I deserve that. I think every business owner deserves a retirement age. Well, does that mean that I'm going to go like golfing every day? No, my retirement age means that I move on to the next business that I want to own or the next thing that I want to do with the profits that I made off of this. So, just as we asked about you considering keeping the company, there's also the potential. It would have to be a really, really, really sweet deal. And it would also not have to be right now. It would have to probably be like 10 to 15 years from now. Because I feel like I've just scratched the surface.
I think you kind of have missed out a little bit on your life calling if you kind of sold it now without seeing what the potential would be, right? Future.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, I will say that like not just for me, but like for the both of us, there have been times, and I think that we've had these conversations in the past, that we have seen businesses do both of these things so wrong. I've seen, and it makes me sad for them sometimes because like I'll use, for example, this business that this gentleman who actually wasn't a client of mine. He was just someone that I was helping pro bono. He would not. It's not that he would not listen to me as a person, because like, how dare he not listen to me? But it was more that he wouldn't take the advice of professionals. He had a great idea, and he would talk often about how he wanted a company or a business that he could own for many, many years. But there were so many things that he was doing wrong. His marketing was wrong. His communication with his clients was wrong. His processes were wrong, and he had no bookkeeper. He had nobody, no accountant, no CPA. He was doing it all by himself, because he was clutching to his business like my precious, and eventually he lost his business. He went out of business. For me, and for me, I feel like if you're going to build an inheritable business, you really do need to learn who you are. If you don't know who you are, and you don't know what your position is in the business, and you cannot let go of the big things and the little things and put yourself in a very clear role, you're not building to inherit. You're not. What you're doing is creating a job, a quasi long lasting job, maybe not. You probably go out of business. What about for you? Like, what are have there been any situations that you've been in where someone has said, I'm building to sell, and then they make like all the wrong choices? Are there any skeletons that you've passed on your path?
A few. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely like, to each their own. I think it's, again, if they're saying that, hey, I want to build, like, I want to sell, right? So, and then actually that's a common thing that people say, right? Because everybody's like, well, why wouldn't you want to sell? Cha-ching, so much money, yada, yada, yada. But again, if they're personally not aligned, you can kind of tell through their action that they really don't want to sell at the end of the day, right? So some people do like to be the only person in their business, right? So when somebody is that, and usually it's somebody who is a technical expert in their field, right? And they go out and they start their business because they're really good at what they do, and they can do it better than other people. So why work for somebody else when you can just do it just as good? So, I mean, you find a lot of that in like professional services, whether you're an accountant, you're a lawyer. I mean, these are common ones, doctors, whatever the case may be. They'll step out and do their business, but oftentimes their business, it's centered around them. So much so that, the business is probably even named after them, right? Which is also,
right.
Really hard for you to sell, because in that case you literally are the business. And so when people say they want to sell but yet they're kind of building the business centered on themselves, that certainly is just kind of increasingly making it harder for their business to be sellable. Sometimes it's also ego really comes into play quite a bit there. I mean, I've definitely seen and heard stories of businesses that people supposedly want to sell, but when an offer comes in or the negotiation starts, ego gets in the way. And I think that's the thing too. If you want to sell your business, you kind of need to emotionally detach from your business, right? And I can say firsthand experience, even intentionally doing that is still hard, and it's very easy to get emotional in the middle of the negotiations, because people are seeing the business through a different lens. They're not seeing it through the late nights that you stayed up working on a client deliverables, or the first employee you had to hire and the first employee you had to fire, and all these stories that build up to what your business is. They don't see that. So it's really easy for your ego to get caught up in that. And so, I've seen deals kind of fall down because the business owner couldn't take themselves out of the business. And it's and that's the thing, is saying one thing and being able to align to it. So that's really where I've seen it gone wrong, is, somebody wanting to sell, but they hold on to the business still so tightly in so many ways.
Would you say, I could say that for me, I was a little bit unique in that I have come from both sides of family-owned businesses that were either inheritable, or businesses that stayed within the family until it was time to just, move on from it, just shut it down, and that's the end of it. So I learned a lot from my family members and from the people, the upper people that worked for my family members. But I can say that for building a business that's going to last, an evergreen company, you would, or should, you really should consider attending some workshops, maybe even take some college courses at your local community college, which is actually what I did, to kind of brush up on some things that maybe you're not feeling that, maybe you feel like you have the proper amount of education in, or maybe it's something that you feel like you should learn a little bit more about. I did it because I felt like there's a lot that I didn't know, and there was still so much that I didn't know, right? Like even over the 10 years,
it's
I
not
still
humanly
feel like there's
possible
still a lot
to condense all that.
Totally not. But I think that going to some of the workshops and taking a couple of courses helped me out in the beginning. Mm-hmm. It really helped me. I mean, I make fun of networking, right? Like, oh God, networking. I couldn't think of anything worse. However, it was networking that brought you and me together.
I was going to say, it's a lucky relationship. I mean, it's, I think it's a rite of passage. Every new business owner needs to go to enough networking events to start recognizing other people that go to a lot of networking events. Mm-hmm. So I think similar absolutely. To you, I mean, I was a consumer of all information possible. In the beginning, still today, there are things that still surprise me all the time. I don't know if I ever actually did any kind of formal classes or anything like that to kind of brush up. I think I was really in a boat of not knowing what I didn't know. So I didn't even know enough to know what I didn't know to go to sign up for classes, which is dangerous position to be in, I suppose. But what I did do is basically I did a lot of I did a lot of business books, of course, but I also did a lot of personal, self-improvement books, to be quite honest. If anything, I think I felt at one point, probably a couple years in, that my technical skills are only going to get me so far. And what I really needed is to have a really strong, mind and a really strong, strong mind, body, and soul, in a sense, for me to be sustained long enough to do what I want to do in business. So I actually did end up spending quite a lot of focus on that part of it. And then, probably like everybody else, got surprised with something that I didn't know and then quickly went to Google it. And then figured it out while I'm along the way. So
yeah. So why don't we take a moment now to pull some famous examples of the paths that we took and the inspiration that we can pull from them, so that way we can help people put a face to a name to what we're talking about. Because there's only so much that we can articulate, right? But if we give people an example of who we were inspired by, not necessarily for this particular subject, but just generally speaking, people that we've been inspired by, or companies that we've been inspired by.
Oh, I know you have one in mind.
Heck yeah, man. I,
Do it.
yeah,
Do it.
yeah. So I have always thought that the SC Johnson Company, which uses the tagline "a family company," which is absolutely true. I think the SC Johnson Company is so. First of all, they're very fascinating to me. Um, and the thing about them is that so they started in 1882, and the gentleman who started it, S.C. Johnson, Samuel. His name
You
was
don't
Samuel
say.
Curtis Johnson. Yeah, yeah, right. So when S.C. Johnson, he was 50 years old. He bought a flooring company, the flooring company that he worked in, and at that time it was called Racine Hardware Company,
But he
and
started at 50 or 15?
50,
50?
50.
Whoa.
Like,
Hats off
that's what
to
I'm talking
that.
about. Like, this guy was so anyway, so he started mixing batches of floor wax in his own bathtub. That's insane to me. And so from there he started selling his SC Johnson parquet flooring products with a can of Johnson's prepared paste wax. And this was the start of the Johnson's wax. The Johnson family, the Johnson company was called Johnson's Wax. And it was really cool because as he became successful, he started donating 10% of his income for programs that helped young people. And from there, it was inherited and inherited and inherited. And I think now it's in its fifth generation. But each generation brought something more to the table. I thought that was phenomenal because they just made the business that much better.
Now,
Every
did they
single
like
one of
inherit
them.
within family? Is that what is it's family generations, a family,
Yeah.
right? Wow.
It's generations of family. Yes. Right now, it is chaired by he's the CEO and he's the current chairman, Fisk Johnson, and he's the fifth generation. Like
Oh
that
wow.
that's
That
insane.
is mad respect to them.
Yeah. Yeah. So each one of the gentlemen that took over the family company brought something new. So in the 1930s, it expanded beyond wax, and then in the 50s, there was Raid and Glade and Pledge and Off. That was all introduced. I think the second generation globalized the expansion. I mean, it just goes on and on. And I also think it's really cool that so this speaks to the architectural nerd of my heart. Their
Let it loose.
headquarters, I know, I can't help it. The headquarters were designed by famed architect Frank Lloyd Wright. And so when you look at the headquarters, it looks like these gigantic golf tees. Like there's dozens of these giant golf tee looking trees that are up in the air, and the whole place looks like this 1940s dream come true metropolis. I can't even explain it. It's just beautiful. But it just kind of speaks to me, it speaks to how authentic the company the company has worked so hard to be authentic, and we should all inspire ourselves and maybe our family members to be
That sounds
to be-
amazing, though. Like such a
it
close
is.
family, and for so many generations, like those family values must be them. It must run deep.
Oh, for sure. Because when you look at families like the Astor family or the Vanderbilt family that didn't go beyond, I think, the second generation or the third generation, and they just kind of fell apart. When you look at these families that tried to create inheritable businesses and sucked at it, it's really nice to see ones that not only were good at it, but every generation brought something new to the table and created an even more incredible product. And to bring it, like, to kind of just pull it back to my personal world. My uncle, well, when my family came here, no one had any money. When my uncle came here specifically to Crystal City, he recognized a need just similar to what I did. He was a part of my inspiration, but he recognized a need. He started a company that he then, when he passed away, his two sons had been working there, but when he passed away, the two sons took it over and they created something that was even bigger than what their father had created. And now their son, or one of the brothers' sons, is working his way into inheriting the business, and he's got ideas to take it to the next level. I've got a few of those examples in my family where the next generation is creating something better than the last generation created. And that's really what you want in an inheritable business, because yes, you're creating processes, and yes, you're creating policies, and yeah, you're creating these roles for yourself, but in the end, you also have to create a culture of understanding of what the expectation is of this inherited company. The expectation is that you're going to take it and you're going to make it your own and take it to the next level. Because what's the sense of inheriting a business that you're going to just keep the same, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the beautiful part about businesses built to inherit and built well to inherit. You just kind of see this kind of beautiful legacy from generation to generation. And, I definitely know that I've come across a couple of businesses where the business owner is kind of so happens to be grooming one of their children to take over the business, and it warms my heart to see that, to have that, to just see the support and the setup, and it was just even a mentorship, even if it's not a family member, but to have kind of a passing down of knowledge, and it's amazing to see. So just thinking about my kind of real life inspiration. So my, I guess the kind of who I kind of looked up to isn't so much, because the person I'm thinking about actually isn't she's not kind of the traditional serial entrepreneur, but her approach and kind of her life trajectory is something that I greatly admire, and I probably have heard all her interviews. I probably searched the internet for all her interviews just because I just love it when she's speaking. And so I'm referring to Sarah Blakely. Do you know who that is? So
I don't, but when you were describing her, I'm over here like Dolly Parton. No, not Dolly Parton.
So I was thinking of Sarah Blakely. So she is the founder of Spanx. So we've probably Spanx, right? Yes. Oh my gosh!
I've got her stuff all up in my drawer, in my drawers. I have her drawers in my drawers.
Yes, you have her drawers in drawers. Yes. No, she is. I was obsessed with her. I'm probably still obsessed with her. Like I said, every time I see any kind of podcast or interview pop up saying, "Oh, we interviewed Sarah Blakely," I was like, must listen.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but her story was really cool. I mean, I think coincidentally, she really didn't get her start. I think she didn't start Spanx until she was 27, which is the same age I started my business. And it was just neat because she didn't come from a business background or anything like that. She actually started by selling fax machines door to door.
Oh, wow.
Which just in itself, just thinking about that.
What was that, 1985?
Well, yes. I think it was a little bit into the 90s. Apparently when fax machines are still fashionable and kids knew what they were.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was selling fax machines, and her famous line was one day she basically broke down in her car because she, was getting rejected so many times as a salesperson, and fax machines, right? Really sexy product there. And she kind of broke down in her car, and she was kind of she just had this feeling where she was casted in the wrong movie. She's like, I'm in the wrong movie. This is not my movie, right?
Oh, yeah. I know that feeling.
Yeah, so often. And so she basically came up with this product, which eventually became Spanx. But, I think it's so interesting what she did, because not only did she kind of come up with an idea from scratch, she came up with an actual invention. It was something that actually required something beyond service. It required like pattern making, it required material, it required manufacturing, inventory, patents, distributions. She really went at it hard and picked something incredibly difficult to do as her first business venture. But she's kind of had like that scrappiness about her. She did everything herself. She knew nothing about, like, it's not like she had like a background in like fashion design or anything like that. She did not. She just had this idea, went with it. So much so that when she was applying to get the patent on her product, she wrote the patent herself. So she applied for the patent herself. So she went and basically looked up and researched books, which back in the day, I don't think she was there was no YouTube or Google back in the day.
Yeah, no.
Straight up to
she was actually looking up books.
Yeah, exactly. And she learned how to do her own patent application to get that submitted, because she didn't have enough money to go pay a patent lawyer, which from self-experience, patents are really expensive. She just had this scrappiness in her that she was just willing to do anything. And she built the product. She started cold calling all these large department stores to get them to buy the product and distribute it. And her big break was that she landed a meeting with Neiman Marcus, the buyer at Neiman Marcus. And she basically met the buyer, and luckily within the 5 minutes, which was the only 5 minutes she had for the meeting, she convinced the buyer at Neiman Marcus that her product was good to carry in the store. So it started with a few stores and then expanded to more stores. But she essentially just built it one store, one product at a time, basically by herself.
That's really cool.
It's insane what she did. You talk about perseverance and persistence in going after what she wanted to do. And she so even till this day, she 100% owns the company. Legit, still 100% owns the business.
Oh.
In 2017, I think she became a billionaire. So she was a self-made billionaire with a B, which again, wow.
That's awesome.
And again, 100% owns her business. And then she just has the spirit about her. And then her life trajectory was pretty interesting. While she's building this business, she's doing it on her own, and she certainly has a lot of business lessons in there. But on her personal life, she ended up meeting her husband a lot of, I think in her mid 30s, who her husband is Jesse Itzler, or Itzler. I probably am butchering his last name right now, right? Sorry. But he himself is also a serial entrepreneur in his own right. And he had a colorful array of business endeavors. One of them being the fact that he started out as a rapper who actually, yeah, awesome. Exactly. This white guy who decided to get really famous in rapping actually has one famous song that you can still YouTube to this day.
Oh, what is it?
Oh my gosh. Oh,
do you know what it is?
I do not know what it is off the top of my head. I will have to Google this. And we'll have to put it in the show notes or something. But I did legit look it up. It was hilarious, but it was huge. And so he had done that, and then he's this avid runner, so he's done all sorts of kind of triathlons and stuff like that. And then he founded, so at the time when they met, he had founded, well, not I guess founded is a good word to say, I suppose, it's kind of this private club for a private jet. So basically almost leasing time on a private jet. So for somebody who doesn't want to go out and buy their own, they can lease time to kind of fly on private jets. And so they had kind of this membership club going. And so he was doing really well in his own right. And that's kind of how they met, was that at that point, Sarah was gotten big enough where she was kind of a member of this private jet company. And so she was using the membership, and that's, I think her assistant or something had introduced her to Jesse. And so, a few years later, they got married. It was probably in her late 30s when she had her first child. And so now currently she has 4 kids, all of them under 10 years old. Which is also really interesting too, because I think she just did an interview about being at home with in the quarantine with 4 kids under 10. 3 of them I think are under 5 or something like that. So
No, that's a no.
Amazing. Like, and she's like running this $1 billion empire while at home with the 4 kids under 10 and no nanny.
Wow.
So. Yeah, but she was just like, she's just this like entrepreneur who kind of followed her own path, right? Like she has this very, she has a super strong, like kind of feminine energy about her where she's really big on like intuition, instinct, you know, being very nurturing, kind of like love, not war type of attitude toward business and life. Mm-hmm. And it's just so like, motivating to hear her story because, you know, she kind of grew up in this world where, you know, a lot of times you think about business and people are like, oh, it's like war, right? Like it's cutthroat, you know, it's all competition and whatnot. And, you know, she wasn't like that. She didn't believe in that. And she always just kind of stayed true to herself and kind of did things her way. And it's clearly worked out really well for her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would say that she, you know, and if you listen to her interviews now, she's probably like one of the most down to earth people, who is just so real. Mm-hmm. I think that's what makes her so like such an inspirational person to kind of follow because she's just so down to earth, just so raw and so open in all her interviews, and about kind of her journey and how she got to where she is, and certainly by a lot of hard work, but at the same time, like, you know, she just, I just admire the fact that she kind of what I was saying earlier was, you know, I kind of had this idea of, you know, I wanted to be a serial entrepreneur. I also wanted to build and sell a lot of businesses, and, you know, some people kind of looked at me like I was selling out or something like that as a business, or like, oh my gosh, like, it's like, you know, so you want to just like churn and burn, but in her sense, like, you know, she kind of kept true north to what she was doing, and then same for me, you know, I'm keeping true north to what I feel like is my calling and what I do in this life. And, you know, she's done really well. And, you know, of course, like, you know, it speaks to me a little bit too, because personally I, you know, have made that personal choice, that as a woman, I want to consider kids later in life, probably a lot later than what others would deem that they would want to.
An appropriate age.
An appropriate age according to society, right? And she did something very similar. I think she, you know, had the same mindset where she kind of wanted to get her like ambitions out before kids. I don't know if that was her personal decision, whatever the case may be, happened. But I feel like it worked out really well for her. She had kids when she was ready, not when society says she needs to. And she ran her business the way she wanted to and not what society said, like, you should run a business like. Yeah, so that's is who I follow.
And that's I mean, that is, I think both of us have some a lot of great inspiration to pull from both of our respectable examples. And by the way, I looked up her husband. He went by Jesse James, and
that's right.
He actually, like, you're right, he did really well. He wrote a song with Tone Loc. His first single was Shake It Like a White Girl, if anybody else remembers the year 91. And the song was featured in the movie White Chicks.
Yes. And another one that was, like, I think for the New York...
Yeah. For the New York Knicks. He sang the New York Knicks theme song. And he wrote and sang an Emmy Award-winning song, I Love This Game. And did campaigns. He's credited with campaigns for Foot Locker and Coca-Cola. I mean, the man and the woman together, they're like the dream team. That's
they
insane.
Are like
That's
a power couple. Yeah, and just in that sense too, you know, having a power couple both in business and then also, you know, raising a family and whatnot. Like, it's, and both, you know, equally
Yes.
successful. I mean, like above and beyond even what like
Yeah.
anyone dreams of success. They are both on that platform and they're married. Like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Like, how do you even have a conversation with someone? I don't know. Anyway, so so that's great. I think that we shared a lot of great information here, and hopefully, hopefully you know what direction you want to go in. And if you don't know, maybe we've given you a few nuggets to think about, some things to think about while you decide what path your business should go in. My final advice to you, the business owner, if you plan to build an inheritable business, make sure that you create not just a business that has great processes written down, great policies written down, and like all of that kind of stuff, which is great, but you do want to create a culture. You want to create a culture that fosters taking this business, taking this company, and putting it into an even better state. That was the thing about SC Johnson that I really appreciated, was that every generation that inherited the business made it an even better business. And how do you do that? How would a person know to do that? Well, I think it really starts with culture. What kind of culture is it that you're creating? What kind of parameters are you putting around your business so that people know how to approach it? People in your family, if that's who you want it to be inherited by, or just whomever it is that you want to inherit it. How should they be treating this business? And what about for you? What final advice would you give to a business owner who wants to sell their business?
Yeah, I would say my final advice is kind of what we started with is kind of, know what your end goal is, right? Know what your end game is. And again, it's not something that you can probably come up with on day one. And it's not realistic to come up with a day one. If you're so lucky to know what your calling is, that's great. But otherwise, it does take a little while, but be open to that. But once you figure out what your end goal is, that makes, decisions like building what your culture is and, what you want to do, just kind of day-to-day in your business, it just makes the decision so much easier when you know that you know where you're pointing towards and that you can actually point all your directions toward that, because then that will add up to you achieving what you set out to do. So I would say that, in either scenarios, just know kind of what works for you. And again, your whether you built to sell, you built to inherit, you choose the path that's right for you. There's really no wrong way to run, there's no wrong way to, I guess, design your business, except if it's not the way you want to design it, right? So
it has to be something you feel good about.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, it's your business, it's your life, right? So definitely make the best of it and make it yours.
I agree. Please join us for our next episode where we will discuss identifying toxic clients and knowing when to fire them.
Ooh.
This is a hot topic.
F word, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that no matter how long you've been in business, sometimes it can be kind of difficult to know how to deal with certain types of clients. So we're going to discuss what kind of clients you should be looking out for, and when you're going to fire somebody, knowing that when that time is and what the appropriate steps are for firing a client.
And you're never too early in your business to learn how to fire a client.
Never.
You think you need the money? The money is never worth it. So.
Never worth it. And that's the problem, is that they always hang it in front of your face like a carrot, but no, it's not. It's never worth it. Believe me.
That's right. So we'll definitely dive right into that on the next episode.
Want to ask a question or become a sponsor for a future episode of The Business Behind Small Business? Click on the link in the show notes and fill out the form. Until next time, thank you. Bye.
Bye.